What's going on, everybody? It is the last week to get your fantasy drafts in. Hopefully a lot of you guys are watching this video because you found out you're picking in the one spot in your league. It is one of my favorite spots to pick from. I really enjoy anytime I get the top 4 spots in a 12-man draft. Before we get into the recap of one of my favorite teams that I've drafted, and I've drafted I think over 50 teams now or so. I'm basically grinding out drafts 2 at a time, 3 at a time, all day, every day, these last couple of days, just to get as many entries as I can in. But if you want to hop on my fantasy draft guide, it's $50, sends you clear instructions. If you can't afford it, if you're in a smaller league where it doesn't make sense to invest $50 on a draft guide, this video is going to be perfect for you. But if you're in multiple leagues like I am, and you're really investing thousands of dollars into best ball drafts, the draft guide will do more than pay for itself. So that's link in bio, but sbenation.com. Okay, let's get to it. So yeah, I was correct. I did over 50 drafts. I've done 55 real money drafts now, 30 best ball mania entries, and then I was grinding out puppy 2, puppy 3, so those are smaller, but that was really for practice. In hindsight, I wish I had just done $25 drafts. Love 25 because you can win $1 million if you hit a home run and come in first place, which I think that'd be more than a home run. That'd be like a grand slam. But I'm having trouble getting this $900 invested, honestly. I mean, I'm drafting 2-3 drafts at a time. I've basically got everything I need to have memorized. So I'm just on autopilot when I go through these drafts. But yeah, wish I would have just done $25 drafts, but hey, it is what it is. I like $25 over like $250 because about 3 to 5 teams in this will just be dead teams, which is incredible because that means you're competing with 6 to 8 other teams for 2 playoff slots. So let's get straight to it. I was live streaming when I drafted this team. I was live streaming over on TikTok, but you can see the breakdown there. So I drafted first overall, ended up going with Christian McCaffrey. We'll go to the full draft board so you guys can see that. Actually, let's go back to this real quick. One thing I want to point out is it's incredibly important to get these players at good prices. So this is a bad example here, but I was completing a stack, so I'll go over that too. But if you look at where I got Chris Carson, right? His ADP is 39.7. I got him at 48. The reason that is so incredibly important in best ball tournaments is because unlike redraft leagues, like traditional fantasy leagues you play with your friends, in best ball, when you get to those playoff rounds, those money rounds, if you're able to finish top 2 in your league and you advance, you're going to be going up against other teams that have similar rosters to you. So if Chris Carson, say he does as good as he can do and he's the RB1 in fantasy this year, I don't expect that, but just play along with me. Say he is the best fantasy running back. All of the other Chris Carson teams will make the playoffs, but they probably invested a 3rd round pick on him where I got him with my 4th round pick. So that means I have a 3rd round receiver, which would be Keenan Allen, and they have a 4th round receiver. Maybe they have Jerry Jeudy. So their 2 players they got with round 3 and 4 might be Chris Carson and Jerry Jeudy, whereas my 3 and 4 were Keenan Allen and Chris Carson. And then I still had time to pick up Jerry Jeudy. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. But that is why ADP is so important. I go into draft sometimes and I have an idea, okay, I want to build this stack. Like every draft I go into, I am trying to get Marquez Callaway, Michael Thomas, and Jameis Winston. As you can see in this one, I did not get Jameis Winston or Mike Thomas, but I did get Marquez Callaway. And a reason why is, well, I didn't get him at a good price, so that's kind of a bad example. But a reason why is because I feel like he is the top receiver in New Orleans. I feel like his ADP should be above Michael Thomas, so I'm just high on him. But if you look at, some of the other players, I didn't really get too good of deals at a lot of them. Devontae Parker, that was a good deal there, 6. But I guess I didn't do anything too insane here. Mike Gesicki, really loved this pick. I was able to build a stack with him and Tua. Let's just get into it though. But I wanted to go over ADP and making sure that you get these players, at least in best ball, like in your regular fantasy league. If you love a player, like you love Kyle Pitts, it's fine to reach for him. But to get him in the 3rd round right here, that's just dumb. And I get it. You know, his ADP is 47, so this guy wouldn't have been able to get him. Like, he would have had to wait till 60 and 61. But the reality is, if you get the 12 spot, you just have to realize, okay, I'm going to have crappy tight ends on this team, because all the good tight ends ADPs are really on the left half of the board, which is a big reason I like drafting in the top slot. So I'll move myself up here. First pick, obviously Christian McCaffrey. You don't want to get cute. Anytime I get the first pick, I go McCaffrey. Second pick, I go Cook. Third pick, I go Kamara at this point, now that Winston's named the starter. And we don't have to worry about Taysom Hill not checking down, because Jameis will check down to Kamara all day. And then 4 to 5, I really like grabbing Travis Kelce or Devontae Adams. Those are kind of my 2 guys that I go for. I'd rank Zeke Elliott as my 4th running back at the time of this recording. But yeah, it comes back to me. My goal here is Darren Waller. I have my fingers crossed. I'm getting antsy. I'm super excited. Darren Waller goes right before me. So then I pick Justin Jefferson at a pretty good ADP. And then Keenan Allen, I think his ADP might be 24, 25, 26. I'm not sure. But when I draft these 3, immediately I'm putting their quarterbacks in my queue. So I use my queue kind of as my watch list. And I know I want to close those stacks off. Now, with my 4th pick up here, I think my dream was to get Kyle Pitts here. Kyle Pitts, his ADP is 47 point something, so it's actually right there. This guy over in the 12 spot reached for Kyle Pitts, which is fine. Everybody reached for random players. You see James Robinson going a little bit ahead of his ADP. His ADP is in the 50s, although I do think James Robinson should be going in the 2nd or 3rd round. Because of his ADP, I don't reach on him. I got him in the 6th round of one of my drafts a couple days ago. So Chris Carson, I've never seen him go with the last pick in the 4th round like this. So that was an absolute no-brainer. And then I go for the best receiver available. I like Jerry Jeudy because his ADP really hasn't changed. And I think that the QB announcement is going to give him, his new QB is going to give him a boost in production from last year. If you look at a lot of his targets from last year, they were a lot of uncatchable balls. So even though he had a lot of balls that were technically thrown his way, a lot of them weren't catchable. So they were just valueless targets. Teddy Bridgewater, I think, is a huge upgrade for Jerry Jeudy. And the reason I get him here is because if you look at these players' quarterbacks, maybe not Justin Jefferson, but if you look at Keenan Allen and Chris Carson, at least, their QBs are going to go inside the top 100 picks. And really, I like to load up at position players in the top 100. So Jerry Jeudy is nice because I know I can complete that stack in like rounds 16 to 18 if I haven't already gotten QBs. So the draft comes around again, and what I decided to do is I'm not really in love with anyone. I remember I had my fingers crossed for Laviska Shenault here. I love Laviska. Considering the Travis Etienne injury, Laviska Shenault could see goal line carries. He could see a lot of carries out of the backfield, depending on how they want to use him. He's built like a running back, and he does have, he does run the ball several times a game. But yeah, I'm high on Laviska Shenault, but he went right before. So what I did here was I said, you know what? Drafting on the ends is really cool because you can build stacks back to back. There's no anticipation. You know you're getting 2 picks back to back. So this was a fair price for Herbert. A little bit of a reach, or maybe it was a fair price on Mike Williams. I forget. One of these was a fair price. The other one was about 5 picks below ADP. That's about as far as I'm willing to go. So if a player's ADP is 78, I do not want to take them before 73. And the only way I take them 5 picks below ADP is if it is in the name of building a stack. So we get Mike Williams. Another reason I got Herbert is because it was a double stack. So not only am I building this stack right here, but now I have Herbert's top 2 receivers. So if you've been following this channel, I do a lot of sports betting videos. I put $2,000 on the Chargers to win over 9 games. One of my favorite bets of all time, honestly. I cannot tell you a time I've been more confident in a bet. And then also I put about $400, $500 on Herbert to win the MVP. If that prediction is true, not only am I going to win like 12, 13 grand, but this team is going to absolutely dominate and have a real chance at winning this whole tournament because I double stacked Herbert and his top 2 pass catchers. Next up, I go Tyler Higby. Needed a tight end. Unfortunately, my guys, Waller and Kyle Pitts, did not fall to me early on. It did allow me to get stacked at the running back and receiver positions, which is nice. Higby is my favorite tight end outside of those top 3 tight ends. I'm avoiding Kittle. I know he's a top 3, but I think Pitts will finish above Kittle. That's my personal prediction. That's what I'm betting on this year. So I like Higby. And then what I do is I grab Marquez Callaway because I think this is an insane deal for him. He's the top receiver in New Orleans, and then he caught 2 bombs from Jameis Winston. So I just love that right there, and it sets up for a Jameis Winston stack. Now, Winston got drafted way ahead of ADP, so I didn't get to complete that stack, but that's just my mindset when I'm making that pick. Now, it comes around again. At this point, I need to start targeting running backs. James Conner I love because if no injuries happen to the starter in Arizona, then he should have maybe 5 to 8 weeks that he can contribute as a playable, a startable running back in best ball leagues. I don't like this strategy as much in redraft leagues because how are you going to predict what weeks James Conner is going to score the touchdowns over the other running back? I'm forgetting his name that they have there, honestly. I'm forgetting his name. But you get what I'm saying. It's 2 workhorse running backs they have in Arizona. I mean, there's a 50-50 chance, maybe a 40% chance that James Conner finishes first in fantasy points for that backfield. But he's usable. I mean, there's going to be 5 weeks at least that he's in my lineup. So that's solid there to start building those. And then the big thing is, with rounds 10 to 18, I'm trying to draft people that have top 3 round upside. So I'm trying to draft running backs that could be top 10, top 15 running backs. And the best way to do that is to get guys like James Conner, Tony Pollard, Leonard Fournette, where if one injury happens to Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette is basically a 2nd round draft pick. If one injury happens to Zeke, Tony Pollard is a 2nd round, 1st round draft pick, right? On an elite offense. So James Conner, elite offense. He's going to be splitting carries. If the starter gets hurt, then boom, he's a top running back. So those are the guys that I try to target. But again, I don't reach for them. I let them fall to me, and as they fall to me, I scoop them up at the running back position. So I go James Conner, add depth to the receiver position, and then what I do is I snag Tua Tagovailoa and complete that stack. So the snake went back-to-back here. It goes all the way down, comes back. Amazing that Tua fell to me. I was so happy that he fell to me because I had just grabbed Devontae Parker. Now I have a Miami Dolphins stack. And I really need 2 tight ends on this team because I didn't get one of my favorite tight ends early. You know, you get Kyle Pitts, you get Travis Kelce, you get Darren Waller. You don't have to worry about the tight end position as much later on. I've had teams where I draft Travis Kelce and I don't draft another tight end just because I want depth at QB, running back, and receiver. And I realize, okay, he'll have a goose egg one of the weeks when he has a bye. But why would I draft a backup for Kelce just so that I can get 7 points out of him, 4 points out of him the 1 week that Kelce has a bye? I'd rather just add depth and take a shot at a QB that normally goes undrafted. So look at this Miami Dolphins stack. That is beautiful. The reason that stacks matter, well, I probably should have said this sooner, but the reason that stacks matter so much in best ball is because the teams you play in the playoffs have the same players as you oftentimes. But then also, when you're trying to come in first place out of 2,000 teams, you need to have the top stack. And if I can have exposure to 6 combinations of QB and pass catcher. So in this one, I'm showing you I have, what did I just say? Devontae Parker with Tua. And then Gesicki with Tua. That's 2 stacks. And then I have Keenan Allen with Herbert. And then I have Mike Williams with Herbert. Right? So that's 4 stacks right there. 2 double stacks, but 4 stacks. So if Herbert throws 3 touchdowns to one of those receivers, odds are, if you don't have that stack on your team, you're going to have a very hard time advancing, especially if I have that stack. So to get through the playoffs, I'm just trying to build stacks. And of course, you can't predict which stack is going to be the top stack week 15, 16, and 17. But imagine if you happen to have the top stack for week 15, and then week 16, it's a totally different stack, and you have that stack too. So imagine if like the Chargers score 50 points week 15, and then the Dolphins score 50 week 16, and then the Patriots score 50 points week 17, and you just so happen to have all three of those stacks on one team. So build as many stacks as possible without reaching too far. So don't draft too far away from their ADP, still get a good deal, but you want to complete stacks. And if you don't complete stacks, you really are giving yourself almost no chance. So this is pretty funny too. We go to Desean Jackson here. Did I end up picking? I don't think I got Stafford on this team, did I? Or did I? No, I didn't. I went Carson Wentz and Mac Jones at the end. So Desean Jackson, this is a bet on the Rams offense, which I think the Rams offense is going to be really good. I try to get Stafford in as many leagues as I can. He got drafted above ADP. I don't stress out over it. I just draft the best player available. James White, same thing I talked about. I mean, he could have 5 usable weeks in New England. Malcolm Brown, it's another stack. I mean, what if Tua throws 2 touchdowns to Malcolm Brown in one of the playoff weeks? I mean, it's obviously a long shot for that to happen, but that is a triple stack in Miami, and I love Malcolm Brown. Everybody is all over the Dolphins starter. I'm like, I go blank when I record these videos. I'm sorry, guys. I hope you know. Gaskin is who I'm referring to. But I go blank with names. I am an idiot like that. For some reason, my brain just doesn't work that way. But a lot of people are taking Myles Gaskin in like the 5th, 6th, 7th round. I think Malcolm Brown's going to be the top running back in Miami. If not week 1, by the time playoff weeks come around, I think he'll be their lead back and be getting all the goal line carries. So add to that Dolphin stack. Even if you can't get the QB, if you believe in an offense like the Rams, getting 2 Rams players is great because their outcomes are correlated, right? Like if Tyler Higby has a good season, it's probably because the Rams got a ton of first downs and Stafford threw 35 to 45 touchdowns. So if Tyler Higby has a good year, most likely it's because Stafford is balling out, and most likely Desean Jackson's going to have a good year too, right? So you're raising your ceiling and lowering your floor. You're taking on more risk, more reward, which in tournaments, it's all about taking on as much risk to get as much reward as possible. So last 2 rounds, I'm pretty happy with my tight end, running back, receiver. So I just go 2 more quarterbacks just because that is the most high scoring position. And if for some reason my starting quarterbacks, my top 2 guys, Tua and Herbert, have an off week, then I will maybe Tua hands Malcolm Brown 3 touchdowns that game and he doesn't throw for any. Then I have 2 studs right here that are going undrafted in a lot of leagues that could be the difference maker. So imagine if Mac Jones or Carson Wentz are the top QB in fantasy any of the 3 playoff weeks. I mean, just by picking them up at the very end of my draft is going to pay dividends, especially when you consider like guys like David Johnson, Nico Collins. I mean, why are we drafting Nico Collins, right? What good is that possibly doing for you? I mean, you can see his build here. He really messed up not getting receiver depth early. You can see some of these builds, man. I mean, I don't know if that's 2 QBs or 1 QB. Hopefully it's 2. And I mean, depending on the players, you don't always need 2 QBs. These all look pretty good to me. But you'll see in some leagues where guys will do things like get 4 receivers and 8 running backs, like maybe this guy has done right here, and it's just a dead roster. And even doing things like drafting Kyle Pitts with your 3rd round pick, it's really a dead roster. I mean, this team right here has 0 chance of winning the entire tournament. But biggest takeaways here, I mean, I just wanted to show you guys what it's like drafting from the 1 spot. Unfortunately, normally Darren Waller will fall to us, but we did a pretty good job with the tight ends, especially considering we stacked the Miami tight end with Tua. Good depth with our running backs here, these 4, and then McCaffrey will start every week. And then we have enough receivers where we really can plug in a receiver into the flex every week, most likely. And then a good duo at tight end, completing the stack, and then just getting a tight end that I think will heavily benefit from his partner going to Seattle. Gerald Everett going to Seattle. I think that'll heavily help Tyler Higby. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think of this team. If you have anything to contribute in the comments, let me know. I mean, this is my first year playing best ball, and the first video I ever did, I got a super helpful tip in the comments, and it completely changed the way I've been drafting, and I've been giving myself a much better shot at winning these. But I think this is a great example of a roster that has a really high chance of making the playoffs, and then I've done everything with completing my stacks without reaching to complete the stacks, so that I have a good chance of winning the entire thing and winning that $1 million. So wish me luck. Hopefully we win that $1 million and put myself on the map as a fantasy player. I'm going to get to making some more TikToks and doing a couple more fantasy drafts. But enjoy the rest of your day, night. Thank you guys for watching to the end. Best of luck with all of your fantasy drafts this year. And I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you watch to the end, please subscribe. See you guys. Peace.